off the air on Friday, we were talking about this game. I said, it is Mike White's first start as a pro, and he even said that, it's pretty freaking cool. I'm getting a chance to start.
Yeah.
And I said, I hope it goes well for him. He did not play bad against the Patriots, but it was hard to see really what impact he had on the game simply because the game was out of whack already, and the Patriots were just steamrolling the Jets at that time. But for him to come back and do this and play the way he did, I've never seen anything like it. I literally have never seen anything like it. A guy, now it's not he's not a rookie. Remember, I think he's 25 years old, and he's been around a little bit, and he's been on the practice squads of the Dallas Cowboys, the Jets, and he's played a little bit in preseason, so he's kind of been around. But believe me, as a guy who played that position, watching what he did yesterday was just absolutely sensational. And he got a lot of help. And he got a lot of help in the form of the Bengals and the mistakes that they made. But maybe one of the key plays of the game was Elijah Moore tracking the Bengal down all the way to the 1 yard line and keeping him out of the end zone, because ultimately in that drive, the Bengals don't score. I think Jamar Chase drops a potential touchdown pass, and the Bengals don't get in. They went for it on 4th down, and the score remains 7-0. And then at the end of the game, with 5 minutes left to go, and you're going to hear all these stats about how this very rarely, if ever, gets done when you're down double digits with 5 minutes or less to go in a game. As a matter of fact, this year, the team that had the lead in that scenario, it was 59-0 going into yesterday's game between the Jets and the Bengals. Wow. And, this hasn't been done in the last 40 games by the Jets in such a scenario. So that's how rare this whole thing is. But, he brought in the body of the game up until that last 5 minutes, because at that point, I think a lot of people thought the Jets were probably going to lose, because that's the way it goes in the NFL, and that's the way, history would tell you it would go. But a number of things that just you cannot explain end up happening. And Shaq Lawson makes the play of the game, I think, that catches the Bengals off guard. He forces an interception. Why the Bengals threw there is beyond me, but it was a safe throw. It's probably felt like, they were going to do a little screen, and it was going to go for, 5 or 6 yards, and the clock would still run and all those things. But he makes the play of the game, and he gets the interception. And the next thing you know, there's a tight end standing wide open in the end zone, and Mike White finds him. And it's just, you can't make it up. This is the type of thing that you can make a movie out of.
Oh, sure, I know. Well, it happened once before in NFL history, because I was thinking about this. Remember Matt Flynn came in for Aaron Rodgers towards the end of the 2011 season. He threw, I believe, for over 500 yards in that game and had something like 5 touchdowns. And he ended up getting himself a contract.
Yeah, from Seattle, yeah.
Right.
And then Seattle drafted Russell Wilson.
And then Russell Wilson beat him out in the preseason and in training camp, and then that was the end of it. But it doesn't happen a lot.
Well,
it never happens.
I'll just, look, Mike White is the first quarterback since Steve Young in 1985, who was trailing by double digits with 5 minutes or less remaining in his first career start and came back to win the game. So
that is unprecedented. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think. There's so many things here. White is the first quarterback since 1950 to throw for 400 pass yards and 3 touchdowns in their first career start.
Right. That's the other part about this, is it's his first career start. Now, what we saw, I don't think was flukish. Even when he went out for a little bit because he ended up getting a stinger or whatever it was, and he went to the medical tent, the offense, it stalled down there, and they ended up kicking the field goal when Josh Johnson went in. And when Mike White came back in after his stinger or whatever ointment they rubbed on his neck, he started playing the best football of the day. He started out, 11 of 11?
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. This wasn't a fluke at all. He was spectacular against one of the league's best teams.
And also, unfortunately for him, he's not going to have a lot of time to celebrate because they play this Thursday night against Indianapolis. But I will say, it makes Thursday night against Indianapolis a very interesting game. Had they been blown out the way, look, the Bengals are sick to their stomach. I can tell you that right now. There were enough mistakes made by them that played into all of this. But at the end of the day, the quarterback has got to stand up in there. He's got to make the throws. And I'm tickled over this whole thing for him.
You're tickled?
I am. But because think about yesterday, you had winning quarterbacks, Mike White, Trevor Siemian, you remember him?
Yeah, of course.
P.J. Walker, Cooper Rush, unfortunately for you last night.
Well,
and Geno Smith may have had his best game.
Yeah, I mean, which is not what the NFL necessarily wants, but when those guys play well, it makes for a good storyline.
Especially, think about this. So, Mike White beats the 5-2 Bengals. Trevor Siemian beats the 7-1 or Tampa Bay Buccaneers. PJ Walker sub for Sam Darnold, who got a concussion. Looks like he's going to be out. So that's interesting. And they were on the road at Atlanta. Cooper Rush goes into Minnesota and outplays Kirk Cousins. And of course, Geno Smith beat the Jaguars. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but it just goes to show you that an insurance policy, can pay huge dividends, especially for a team like New Orleans and a team like, Carolina that are in the playoff hunt. Cooper Rush, of course, filling in for Dak Prescott and playing as well as he did. And Mike and Geno Smith playing as well as he did, subbing for Russell Wilson finally. So the Mike White thing is an unbelievable story, but it's for a team that's not going to the playoffs.
No, we knew that, but I mean, I guess what's really interesting about this is when, Rob Saleh was given an opportunity to say, Zach's still our guy. We're never going to ever waver from that. We just drafted the guy. He basically said, hey, we got to take one day at a time. Anything's possible. I mean, could we have seen the next miracle from the quarterback position where a guy that nobody ever thought could be great ends up being great and then takes away a starting position from somebody who was drafted number 2 overall?
Well,
what I saw yesterday, anything is possible. Now, we got to see. It's got to be a couple of games, and we'll see on Thursday. But, that, to me, yesterday was in no way, shape, or form a fluke. No way.
All right, so 5 minutes go in a game, they're down by 11 points. Mm-hmm. And you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
And I think everybody thought that Mike White played a good game.
Especially if you had the Jets plus 11.5, you were also thinking, what's going to happen here?
Well, the thing is that, at that point in the game, you're thinking, the Bengals are going to win the game. Jets fought hard, valiantly, and Mike White played a great second half. Had a couple bad interceptions. That may not have been his fault, but it's inconceivable that something like this happened with him at quarterback because it's never happened before.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. I have that game, so I got to watch the game. I got to see it, and I'm just like, man, what are the Bengals doing? And then, of course, you have this penalty, and this penalty comes on third down.
It's a bad call. Yeah.
It is. I don't know. Football fans all across the country, I think, agree on this one.
Yeah.
That if your player was making that tackle and that call went against your team the way it did against the Bengals,
and when you're trying to get the ball back at a game that you're losing,
right?
You go nuts.
Yep. I don't know. I guess, the NFL is going to say that it was the right call. The NFL will back the official. And then on top of it, it's when it came in the game.
Yeah. Well, they were right. It's when you're trying to get the ball back.
And they would have had the ball back.
And
they would have punted.
Yeah, right, exactly. And with another opportunity to win the game. No, that's a terrible call. But at the same time, though, I know that Joe Burrow could have gotten the ball back and won that game. But they were losing at that point to the Jets. That the interception had already happened, that terrible interception from Joe Burrow. Mike White had already thrown for a gazillion yards and a bunch of touchdowns. Think about the throws that he made down at the goal line. First with Keelan Cole, which was an unbelievable catch. But then the next one to
the
Berrios.
Braxton Berrios one was unbelievable.
But those two throws, that's not luck. This is my theory here. You tell me I've learned more about the NFL in the last 4 years and how impossible it is to perform at a high level at the quarterback position in the NFL from you. And to see him step in there and make those throws against a defense that is top of the league in sacks and to do it consistently for the entire game. There's no luck. There's no beginner's luck. There's something there. Now, I don't know if he's going to go out and throw for 7 interceptions on Thursday night. He may. But, when he threw a great ball yesterday. It was like if I had no idea and I was in a slumber and just woke up and Rip Van Winkle and turned that game on, you would have told me that the Jets drafted a quarterback number 2 overall. But I didn't know who it was. I would have been like, man, this kid's got a bright future. Oh, yeah. My God. This is the Jets finally got a quarterback.
It was great, man. And, I'll tell you, the throw of the Braxton Berrios, we're all sitting there in the NFL Today studio. We're watching this because we were wondering whether or not they were going to give Keelan Cole the catch. And obviously it wasn't. It's too bad it wasn't because it was That would have been better than the Odell Beckham catch, if you ask me.
Yeah,
but the throw to Braxton Berrios basically took everybody's breath away.
Yeah.
Because of where he put it and how decisive he was and how, it was right there on the sideline. And it was a perfect throw. It was just a perfect throw. It really, this doesn't happen very often in the league for a kid who's been bounced around, who's 25 years old. So he's not 22, he's not 21. I'm sure he was a little bit nervous going into the game. I forget which wide receiver was saying, man, that's freaking Mike White, man. He's the dude.
That was Ty Johnson.
That was Ty Johnson.
Running back Ty Johnson.
And by the way, I just want to say that Ty Johnson and Michael Carter had amazing games yesterday,
Michael Carter, especially, was off the charts.
They were great. It's great. It's when your team wins, you wake up the next morning, and to do it the way that the Jets did it this morning, I would hope all Jet fans are extremely happy about this performance and where it came from and how it just came out of nowhere. You got to be just like, wow, this is now. And like I said, again, he can't really celebrate it all that much because they got to play on Thursday night.
Yeah, but still, I'm sure that he had so much last night, so much this morning. The crowd was chanting his name. His parents apparently were shedding tears because the whole crowd was chanting his name, and he was so great. He'll have enough time. He could enjoy this for the rest of his life. Yeah, because you don't know how long this is going to run.
Yeah, they could make a movie out of it for sure.
Yeah, that's so he'll always look back on this. I just wonder if he continues to play like this, then what?
Well, then you got a good problem. You got a really good problem.
I guess. It would be a good problem because that means you'll have a quarterback. But, is it just like, all right, when Zach Wilson's healthy, he goes back in? Is that what's going to happen?
I think that will play itself out. Let it happen naturally, one way or the other. Let it happen naturally. And today it's Mike White Day, man. It is Mike White Day all the way. He deserves every ounce of credit and the poise that he showed yesterday, the accuracy, the touch when he needed touch. Hey, look, he threw a lot of short passes. There's nothing wrong with that. Tom Brady throws a lot of short passes too. And then all of a sudden, when you got to load it up, you load it up when you see that you have the right matchups and things of that nature. Denzel Mims got involved a little bit yesterday. He did drop one in the end zone.
Yeah, it was terrible.
He was kind of stumbling out of his route, and he was tripping and falling, and that ball hit him right in the chest. But at least like he and Elijah Moore are showing up, and you're starting to see them, and that's what you're hoping for. And I think, Rob Saleh can wake up this morning and have a big sigh of relief. But like I said, it's already on to Indianapolis.
Sure, and he needed this too. It's going to be all about Mike White, but Rob Saleh, after that performance against the New England Patriots, he needed to show that he could coach to win a game. And they did, and they came out and they scored right away. They took the ball and they scored right away.
Here's the one thing I will say. And I don't know. I don't even know why I think this way, but I do because it's just like my cynical nature to think about what's going on in the world and how things work in the NFL. So here's Mike White. He does this incredible, incredible game. It's like the top of the top. I'm telling you, it's like you could have never predicted it. But now all of a sudden you have a second overall draft pick who's sitting there watching this.
Oh, yeah.
And you have your head coach saying what he said yesterday, which I would have said the same thing. So I appreciate Rob Saleh being honest and saying, hey, you never know what's going to happen. You never know how this league's going to play out. And he's 100% right. But does the GM say, look, we took this guy number 2, he's got to get back on the field?
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is what I've been trying to ask you.
So that, I don't know. I think Rob and Joe are kind of aligned at the hip over there, and they're going to let it play out. There's no, Zach Wilson's not coming back anytime soon. I don't see him coming back.
Yeah, 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, so maybe not even. So Mike White might end up get the next 2 starts. The other interesting thing about all of this is that, when they signed Joe Flacco and he decided to come late to practice this week,
yeah, right.
His comments were, well, I'll be up and ready to go next week if I have to play.
No, you won't.
You're not playing now.
You're not playing anymore. Right. And by the way, that Jets-Bills game that I'm going to got a hell of a lot more interesting if Mike White is the quarterback. I'll tell you that.
Well, it also could be interesting if Zach Wilson is back under center.
Yeah, that's true.
Well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depending on how Mike White plays from now until then.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.